car. Authorities right now are still searching for the second suspect. The Thomas fire is on track to being the biggest California has ever seen. Jason Campidonia has more.
The fire has now eaten through over 271,000 acres, and fire crews only have it 50% contained. Experts believe that it will surpass the biggest wildfire the state has ever seen, which was fully contained after charring over 273,000 acres. There are now 8,500 firefighters working to save homes in the area and keep people safe. Actor Rob Lowe posted pictures this week of him serving pasta and cheeseburgers to firefighters who helped save his neighborhood. Jason Campidonia, NBC News Radio.
A Georgia stowaway cat named Kitty Bitty is safe after he was found inside a Pepsi bottling warehouse right here in Riverside. Animal Services believes the tabby hitched a ride aboard a big rig in Georgia and rode all the way to the Golden State without being detected. The cat lost a lot of weight and was really thirsty when he was found, but we're told he's doing a lot better after catching up with some cat naps. Animal Services says the cat's owners were identified by a tag he had certifying that he received his rabies vaccine. He should be flying home soon to be reunited with his family. Your forecast today, 74 degrees in Corona, cooling off to 64 degrees by tomorrow with possible rain. That's your update. I'm Blake Trolley. We'll be right back.
What if I told you you'd never have to make a house payment again? What if you could pay off much-needed home repairs and even create an income stream based on the value of your home? If you're 62 years old or older, you could be eligible for a reverse mortgage. Call Tim Harrison and find out if a reverse mortgage is right for you. Call Tim at 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475. Tim Harrison, branch manager, NMLS number 170960. Broadview Mortgage Corporation is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. License number 170952. Registered with the Nationwide Mortgage Licensing System and registry number 813B544. Broadview Mortgage, equal housing lender. Remember, if you never want to make a house payment again, except for property taxes, maintenance, and insurance, that's 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Kenneth Casey. For this afternoon, calling for sunny skies with highs right around 70. As we head into tonight, mostly clear skies are expected with a low of 46. Your Wednesday? Sunny, then slight chance of showers afternoon with a high of 60. I'm Kenneth Casey, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California. KCAA 102.3 FM Riverside, 106.5 FM Redlands, and The Legacy, 1050 AM Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
The holiday season is upon us.
Ho, ho, ho.
And here comes all the little shopping elves. As a small business, it's a joyous time. But wait a minute. Where are all those elves? Why aren't the 4 million elves in the Elfland Empire hearing about your great holiday deals and hightailing their elf toes to your website or store?
It's all about the Prancermans.
Why? You have a shiny store. Why? You have a great website. Stand out among the dozens of your competitors. Do something different this year. Advertise on KCAA. Right now, elves are putting their elf money in your competitors' pockets. Change it up and put their elf jingle in your jingle pockets. Even the most broke elves can afford to get their messages on KCAA. At KCAA, we've got a holiday package for everyone. Don't be left out in the cold. Call a KCAA elf today at 909-793-1065 or log on to kcaaradio.com and advertise.
You can't afford not to.
Lori's Paw Spa wants to remind pet owners of the importance of spaying and neutering. Shelters overflow with unwanted pets. Spaying and neutering helps to prevent this and has many health benefits too. That message courtesy of Lori's Paw Spa at 8649 Baseline Road in Rancho Cucamonga. For all breed dog and cat grooming with over 27 years of experience, call 909-989-8242 for Lori's Paw Spa, where Lori and her staff wish everyone happy holidays.
For most of us, food is not just fodder to get us through the day. It touches us emotionally, culturally, personally. We see this special connection when we gather family and friends for holiday meals. But it's often in the worst of times that our deep relationship to food reveals itself most powerfully. In August, for example, after Hurricane Harvey devastated Houston and the Texas Gulf Coast, the sure signs of people's resilience came not only from the sound of power tools, but also from the aromas of barbecue wafting across a neighborhood, or a big pot of shrimp gumbo simmering on a butane burner set up on a street corner and dished out free to anyone who needed or wanted some. As New York Times reporter Kim Severson wrote about flooded-out Houstonians, no matter what, cooks are going to cook. After the hurricane, 134,000 homes in the 10-county area around the Bayou City were destroyed or swamped with muck and polluted water. The emotional and cultural impact, Severson wrote, is most keenly felt at mealtimes. The kitchen is the heartbeat of a home and, by extension, of a community. So, despite the obstacles, Houstonians cooked, improvising with ice chests, hot plates, and crock pots to create kitchens and second-floor bedrooms, outdoor decks, or any dry spots they could find. She wrote about 70-year-old Al Marcus. 4 feet of bayou water destroyed his kitchen. Yet only days later, he had fired up his backyard smoker and cooked 140 pounds of brisket to provide sustenance and a serving of normalcy to the families and volunteers who were stripping waterlogged sheetrock from storm-damaged homes. "What else am I going to do?" Al asked. This is Jim Hightower saying, that's the true nature of food. It's not just another consumer commodity. Food is us, socially as well as biologically.
Welcome to Isla Earth. Ever been told you have feet of clay? How about feet of a beetle? Well, now you can take that one as a compliment. That's because beetle feet are incredibly well designed and might even inspire a new type of adhesive that could work underwater and make it easier to perform some surgeries. As you've probably seen in your house, beetles have an amazing ability to walk up walls or your refrigerator. Turns out, if you look at beetle feet under a microscope, they resemble tiny suction cups, and researchers at Germany's Max Planck Institute found a way to remake the same shape in the lab. The researchers created a patch of beetle feet-like suction cups and found that they can boost bonding power by more than 25%. And that's with no glue. Smooth walls weren't a problem, neither was glass. And the patch outperformed chemical glues and could stick no matter how wet the patch got. Beetle feet are special. Who knew? One more reason to protect the natural world. You never know what important discovery it'll yield for the good of us all. Learn more about this research and other cool discoveries by following discovery links at islaearth.org. Isla Earth is produced by the Catalina Island Conservancy through its Fund for a Sustainable Planet, because Earth is an island.
Changing sleep patterns could be part of the reason older adults forget things. Elisa Z explains.
Researchers at the University of California say that slow and speedy brainwaves during deep sleep have to sync up at exactly the right moment in order to hit the save button on new memories. As the brain gets older, it's harder for a person's brainwaves to sync up. That's why things get forgotten overnight. Now scientists are hoping to find a way to help things sync up better and hopefully improve memory. Elisa Z, NBC News Radio.
A new study says loneliness and social isolation are as bad for your health as smoking almost a pack of cigarettes a day. British researchers say loneliness can harm a person's health as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The study found loneliness can increase the chance of death by 26% and raise the risk of high blood pressure and obesity. And CVS taking steps to fight the opioid crisis. Company officials announcing drug disposal bins at some locations. They're hoping the move will keep opioids out of the hands of drug abusers. Health Update, Jennifer Bolsoni, NBC News Radio.
KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station, where your business comes first.
Welcome to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden.
Take a walk on the wild side, where the birds and the bees survive. Right before me, my newfound hippie side. Once ignored these conspiracies online. Out the window, visions of me sign me up now. Make sure you use your smart. Take a walk on the wild side. Will the birds and the bees survive? Would your children ride to see Mother Nature sigh?
Welcome to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden.
Welcome, everyone, to Smart Health Talk Radio Show. Yeah! And I tell you, we're pretty excited because we had a couple of new babies in the past couple of days. And when I'm talking babies, I'm talking baby monarchs, baby butterflies. And, of course, they start off as baby caterpillars. Really teeny tiny baby caterpillars, and actually grow 100 times their size. And we're Smart Health Talk. I'm your host, Elaine McFadden, and we are here to bring information that's going to make a difference in your life, could even save your life. And a lot of you out there may be thinking, oh, New Year's right around the corner. Got to start thinking about that scale, getting on that scale. Well, I don't know, I've kind of been through a lot of different things in my life. I've tried so many different diets, and when you get to be my age, which is getting up there, you put on extra weight, you really kind of think about the whole exercise thing. For me, it's been about controlling my calories, only picking the very best, highest quality food, going for long periods of time without eating, getting used to not eating, not thinking about hunger, keeping busy. My monarchs keep me really, really busy and keep my mind off food, that's for sure. The monarchs are actually a great diet. Hey, why don't you start raising monarchs like me? I lost 25 pounds. Maybe you could lose that. Sure makes a big difference. I tell you, just putting my boots on, getting down here, you find that you're putting your boots on like a whole different way when you got that extra weight on versus not having that extra weight. And we have an incredible guest for you today. We have Mariana Wright from way down in the point, the very, very southernmost point of Texas, right there at that very little bottom part. That's where she's at. And these people are just incredible. They are all about butterflies and educating people and protecting them. And they've got an exciting project happening out there in Texas that you're probably going to want to schedule a visit to, because it's probably pretty incredible to go hanging out with a few million monarchs and other butterflies, because they actually have a list of I don't even know how many. I think Mariana probably does, but it's probably a few hundred different butterflies that they've actually had in their facility. And we're going to get to learn all about it. And not just that, but there's someone that's actually invading their property. And this person wants to put up a big old wall. Can you guess who that is? and could care less about what they're doing there. Care less about the endangered species. Just got to get that wall up, right? Well, we're going to find out the inside info on what's really happening down there in Texas with the wall and everything else. And we have Mariana here. Are you there, Mariana?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I could actually hear you really great. Woohoo!
I have video open if there's a way for you to do that on your side too.
Brandon?
Well, all I'm getting is a black screen. I'm not actually getting video from you.
There you go. I took the tape off it, but I forgot I had the window closed. I'm sorry. I'm married to a techie, and so we take our privacy and all of that very seriously.
Well, we got Brandon, our engineer, working to bring up Mariana up on our screen. And in case all you listeners out there didn't know, you can actually watch our show right on the KCAAradio.com website. Or you can go to, is it Twitch or Tweet? What is it? Twitch?
You know what? I don't actually know what we're on now, but KCAAradio.com works for sure.
Okay, I know. I was a little bit confused. I was trying to clarify that because we've been trying out some different video services, trying to find the best one for our listeners. And of course, there's always YouTube as well. And you can watch our video right there. Or you can just listen to us on 102.3, 106.5 FM, or 1050 AM in the Inland Empire here. And if you miss part of our show, no problem, because our podcasts go up after the show on the KCAA website, but also iHeartRadio. So you can find us there under Smart Health Talk. All right, back to Mariana and the butterflies, one of my favorite subjects. So I want to hear about your history, Mariana. Like, how did you get into the butterfly business?
Well, actually, my background is in business development, and I came to the National Butterfly Center almost 6 years ago, and it was by referral. The National Butterfly Center is a project of the North American Butterfly Association.
Okay.
And Dr. Jeffrey Glassberg and his wife, Dr. Jane Scott, and a group of their friends founded NABA, the North American Butterfly Association, and they had a vision of what it would become, and that includes chapters across the United States, projects devoted to research and conservation and environmental education, all about the importance of wild, free-flying butterflies. And their only bricks and mortar project is the National Butterfly Center. We are the one and only, and we are in Mission, Texas. As you said, down in the very, very tip of Texas. We are right on the river. We are on the border to Mexico.
And that's the Rio Grande.
The Rio Grande River. And it's beautiful and wide and deep and amazing where we are. And I'm a valley girl from the South Texas Valley, not the California Valley.
Not the other valley girl.
And so I grew up on the river. It's where I learned to water ski and where we would swim. It was a vibrant recreational area all of my life. And our lives used to be as fluid as the river. Certainly it was not really a natural boundary that any of us recognized. We have family on both sides, property on both sides. Many people had work and other activities that brought them back and forth. And that is not the case today. It has not really been the case since September 11th, 2001. When the government shifted its focus to all of these anti-terrorism measures. And now the National Butterfly Center finds itself at ground zero in the crosshairs of the government's massive public works project, which they have named the border wall.
And so is this, have they already voted on this, that this is a go-ahead?
No, my understanding is that the funding for the wall was just either Friday or Monday added to an omnibus spending bill that they will be voting on this week. Their goal is to have the budget passed by the 22nd so that we don't head into a new year on a continuing resolution for government funding.
And so it looks like they're going to vote for it then.
It looks like they'll vote for it, and who knows what else is in there. One of the most alarming things to us, and you know, I would consider myself probably moderately political before July 20th when I stumbled upon the government contractors at the National Butterfly Center.
Yes, tell us about that day. Let's kind of recreate that day on what actually happened. So this is July 22nd, you said?
July 20th,
Oh,
of
20th
this year.
of this
I believe
year.
it was a Thursday.
And what happened? Where did you go?
Well, the National Butterfly Center is 100 acres, and it runs north-south. So our southernmost part of the property runs all the way to the Rio Grande River. We have 70 acres that is behind the levee. The levee and the Mission Main Canal bisect our property. We have 30 acres on the north side of the levee. So we go back and forth. And I was headed over the levee south toward the river with a person who was looking to bid on some work we needed to have done back there. And instead of encountering javelina and coyotes, maybe some road runners, as I had expected we would see when we went over the levee, there were 5 men, 3 of them with chainsaws and 2 of them with very heavy equipment, a brush hog, which is a big tractor that pulls a blade and chains with it's like a 5-foot blade for mowing. And then the brush boom, which is a similar blade only on like a reticulated arm so that it can cut sideways and up above at all angles. And I asked these guys, like, hey, what are you guys doing here? And they said, clearing this land. And I said, you mean my land?
Yeah, exactly.
And the guy, in his hard hat and his goggles and his neon vest, he said, let me call my supervisor. And I said, I think that would be a good idea. And while he called his supervisor, I called my community border liaison. So because we are landowners on the river, I have a Customs and Border Protection agent assigned to me to handle any issues, problems, questions that I might have on an ongoing basis. And I called that guy and I said, dude, like, what's going on? You've got guys back here who say they've been sent by Border Patrol to clear our land.
Was it hard to keep your cool? Because I would think I would be really upset at that point.
I remember at that point being kind of cool because I was kind of clueless. I really we're next door to a National Wildlife Refuge tract, and then next door to that is a Texas Parks and Wildlife tract. And on the other side of the property is some private land owned by a developer. But, we're in the floodplain here. So there's really not any development going on, but there is, road maintenance and farming and other things going on around us all the time. So honestly, I thought maybe these people were lost.
Okay.
I thought maybe they had landed and started work and didn't know where they were in the wrong place. But
had they already done very much, Mariana? Had they done?
They had been at work for maybe an hour.
Oh, okay.
It didn't look like they had managed to accomplish a whole lot. And I can't recall, we've taken the rolling wheel and measured about how far they made it down the road. But the impact was obvious.
Gosh, if you would not have gotten there when you did, can you imagine what you would have found?
I can't even imagine because, the 2 pieces of heavy equipment, 3 guys with chainsaws.
Oh, they could level an acre probably in no time.
I think they could have moved very rapidly down the road, and then who knows what else. When the crew supervisor got there, he was on the phone with somebody. He said it was Border Patrol or CBP, Customs and Border Protection. He was waving a piece of paper around that had 3 photos on it of our property. That's when I realized that someone had sent them there.
Wow. That's like when someone sees someone with a photo that's a hitman and they're after them or something, you're just like, we're the target. Oh my gosh.
That's that is sort of, I think, when, all the hairs stand up on your back or your neck when you think, oh
they're
my gosh.
They're here for us. They're here for us.
What is happening here? And they explained, and I think this is important for people to understand, where we are, the border to Mexico is in the middle of the Rio Grande River. The border to Mexico, our international boundary, is not on land, but the border wall, as it would impact the National Butterfly Center, the maps and everything we've seen to date show it being built in the levee, which is 1.2 miles from the river. So the workmen explained to me they were there to clear 1.2 miles to the river. At the same time, we noticed the surveyor's stakes and the big X's in the middle of the road, which were the aerial survey marks and everything, which told us very clearly that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers had also been on our property with no notice, with no permission, doing the surveying for the border wall.
So when I'm listening to all this, how can I help but think eminent domain? And I'm just wondering, what is the plan here as far as taking land for this wall?
If it were a matter of the government's going to come in and they're going to negotiate a fair price and go through due process, that would be one thing. But what happened in South Texas in the last round of border wall construction in 2008 to 2010-ish, the government just took property. There was no eminent domain exercised. We even have a federal judge here who never got notice that his land was going to be taken and affected by the border wall.
Oh, his own land, the judge's land.
His own land.
Wow.
His own land. And to this date, so now we're end of 2017, almost 2018, there are still 91 lawsuits open because the citizens of the Rio Grande Valley have had to turn around and sue the federal government for inverse eminent domain. They've had to sue the government and make them answer for what they've done and invoke eminent domain, condemn their property, and negotiate a fair price and compensate them. So we're talking about a wholesale land grab that did not follow due process, that did not uphold the Constitution or honor private property rights. That's what happened 8 years ago. And that's what we're trying to get out ahead of now, because the fact that the contractors just showed up on our land doing this work pretty much told us that the feds want to follow the same MO this time. Just come in and take the land.
They got away with it last time.
I got away with it last time.
I read a story where they were building a dam and they displaced all these Native Americans, promised that they would build them a new home. They had to give up. They had all that. They had their whole community, built the dam. These people have been living in squalor in old trailers for like over 30 years. The government never did anything. So what you're saying, Mariana, is that if we don't take a stand now, you might as well forget it.
That's exactly right. And I think the other thing that's important for everyone in the United States to understand is that Customs and Border Protection is claiming that under the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, they effectively control all land, including private property, within 25 miles of any U.S. border. That includes the east and west coasts. That would include all of San Diego and San Francisco and New York City and Miami. It would include the northern border as well as the southern border. And in everything they've done on our property, they are invoking what they claim is the authority given them under the INA for warrantless entry to private property to obtain operational control for the prevention of illegal activity, not even in response to illegal activity.
They're just making this stuff up.
It's insane, and I knew nothing about it until Chief Manuel Padilla, who is the chief of the Rio Grande Valley border sector, came to see me on August 1st. And at that time, he told me that he understood people were going to be upset and the contractors would be back, and they would be back with green uniform presence, which we understood to mean, and he did clarify, as armed federal agents on private property to prevent property owners from interfering with the work that the government had decided to do there.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like not even America.
Yeah,
I don't
know
even
this
know how to
isn't even our
explain it.
country anymore. And Mariana, I just read about the Bears Ears Monument controversy. Apparently, there has been a uranium exploration company that has been pushing for the opening of the Bears Ears to mining. And, uranium, is this really something that we want to be mining? But when you hear about things going on like with Flynn and his, texting about the nuclear power plants, and and then when I heard from Mayor Stoddard, who was our guest last week, that there's manipulation going on at the city level, the county level, by these oil companies to divert funding towards building facilities that are aimed to use oil, not green energy. And so they're quick trying to get people to spend all this money, because if you spend, $100 million on a project, oh, well, you've got to use it now, right? And so we've got to keep perpetuating that need for oil over and over and over again. And so I see this manipulation where these manipulations are just so much farther reaching, because they're setting us up for our entire future.
Well, let me tell you, one of the weirdest things for me was this work crew. They had signs, labels on their trucks. They were Tikigaq, Tikigaq construction. So we took photos, and I went back and I Googled Tikigaq construction, and here I am at the very tip of Texas at the Gulf of Mexico and the Rio Grande River, and Tikigaq is an Alaskan national corporation.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
So you think, Republican administration, Alaskan National Corporation, Sarah Palin, Tikigaq won the contract to do all of this work in South Texas on the border wall.
Sounds like Puerto Rico all over again.
It does.
Whitefish.
And when you're talking about your mayors and commissioners and other people, so when Trump took office in January, our county judge and our county commissioners sent a letter to Washington saying, okay, Mr. President, if you're really going to build your big, beautiful wall, start here. Start in Hidalgo County. And every one of those men has taken money from a company called Dannenbaum Engineering. And Dannenbaum Engineering's offices were raided in February by the FBI for public corruption, bribery, all sorts of other nefarious crimes. And it was their $300 million plan for the border wall in our levee system here that our county commissioners sent to Washington, D.C. with an invitation for Trump to start in South Texas.
Really? And was
Yes.
that a decision that he made all on his lonesome?
I have no idea how decisions are being made. In fact, we have, to this day in December, never received any explanation as to why the Tiki Gat contractors showed up at the National Butterfly Center and started raping our landscape. The only thing we can guess is that someone in Washington looked at a map of the Rio Grande Valley, and last week the new Secretary of DHS of the Department of Homeland Security, which is over Customs and Border Protection, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, she was here at Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge, which is federal land, making the official announcement that if funding comes through, the border wall will start there. They're about 26 miles to the east of us. And
they're just chomping at the bit to get this thing started, boy. That's why they're doing all this stuff ahead of time, that as soon as they get that funding, they can put it up as fast as they can so no one can stop it.
Tiki Gak has been advertising job openings for hire for a couple of months. So yeah, they hope to have all of these positions filled and everything ready to roll as soon as the funding comes through. The other thing is, we don't even believe that they necessarily require funding. The work that's already been done, the surveying, the core soil sampling, and the mapping and other things that have already been done, were initiated with $40 million that they took from the previous fiscal budget. They just reallocated those monies to the wall project. So who's to say that, our fiscal budget might be approved with $100 million for Meals on Wheels that just gets reallocated to the border wall project?
Really? Wow.
I mean, I think at this point in history, anything is possible.
Well, with your experience, how do you even deal with a situation like this? What is your strategy? Well, I don't know if we want to reveal your strategy.
I run the National Butterfly Center, and NABA fortunately has, wonderful people across the country. Our board of directors, our chapter presidents, our members are incredible people, and all of them are highly vested in environmental issues and conservation and education and butterflies, of course, but also insects and native plants and birds and
it's all under the same umbrella because they're all affected.
They are all affected, and they have reached out for assistance. NABA has sued the federal government once before, where the Army sought to clear a remnant of habitat for the regal fritillary, which is an endangered butterfly species. And this was happening in Pennsylvania, I believe. And NABA sued, and we won.
Yeah.
They were going to clear all this land and put in a tank training and maneuvering and storage facility. They were going to make it a giant parking lot. And we won. And so the strategy at this point is that we're suing again, and we filed the letter of intent to sue at the beginning of October. There was a 60-day waiting period for that, and the actual lawsuit was actually filed last Monday, so just over a week ago, and that lawsuit has been published online. Everybody can see it, and
because you have endangered species in this area that they were clearing.
We do. We have endangered and protected species of a variety of types: birds, reptiles.
Where they had the bulldozers.
Yes, exactly. And that's one of the other things people need to know about the border wall project is the government gave themselves the authority to exempt the government from 37 different laws in order to do the border wall. So when you're talking about clean air, clean water, endangered species, the Real ID Act of 2005, the government passed, our Congress passed, to exempt our government from 37 laws, including the Environmental Protection Act, the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, all of the laws protecting native lands for indigenous peoples, historic landmarks, religious sites, archaeological digs, the International Migratory Bird Treaty. All of these things do not apply. They just get to ignore them when it comes to building the border wall.
Really?
Yes.
You know, it's like, you know, a government that doesn't follow rules that are set up for our country. What kind of government is that? That's some sort of rogue government.
It's some insane dystopia. I mean, I did not, if you had asked me 6 months if this is where we were headed, I would have been one of those people who probably laughed about it. And now here I am.
And what are the things at risk here if we really try to, you know, if that wall goes up, all the places that they want to put it? Because you said that on each side of you, there's other federal lands, and like on each side of you guys, there's another protected area as well. So there's like 3 protected areas at least in a row.
Well, there's lots. So what happened here many years ago is the state of Texas and the federal government and other interested parties like the Audubon Society, the Nature Conservancy, the North American Butterfly Association, recognized that in the Rio Grande Valley, which is the country's most biologically diverse region, in this 4-county area, we have 11 distinct ecosystems. So each one has its own native plants and native wildlife. The flora and fauna are intimately connected and integral to that soil type, that water type, the amount of rainfall that area gets, etc. 11 distinct ecosystems in a 4-county region with only 5% of native habitat remaining. So, in an effort to conserve what's there, they established the Lower Rio Grande Valley Wildlife Conservation Corridor. This is basically like a string of pearls of land, some of them continuous, some of them not, along the Rio Grande River all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. And this is the exact same area that will be behind the border wall. About 4% of the only 5%, this remnant of native habitat that remains, will be behind the border wall.
So
that
we don't
means
even
all
get to,
of the. Go ahead.
So that's not even accessible.
Well, accessibility has been a huge issue for everyone who's already been affected by the wall. So we have no reason to believe that there will be accessibility for humans or an ability for animals
to migrate. Don't
to
they
go
have to
back
migrate?
and forth for foraging, for breeding, for migration, for anything.
Oh, that's so horrible.
Not only that, this 4% that will be behind the border wall, what Customs and Border Protection has already done in this region is go onto private lands and demand that landowners clear their land, or Border Patrol will come do it for them and send them the bill. So we have some folks down the road from us, and the family had goats on their land. So for people who maybe they don't care about or they don't understand, the Texas tortoise or the Texas horned lizard or ferruginous pygmy owls, which only fly about 5 feet high in the air. Here's goats. I mean, I think everybody can understand goats. The man had high grass, which provided food for the goats. The government said, no more high grass. You've got to mow it. You've got to keep it mowed and short. He had mesquite trees that provided shade for the goats. And the government said, you've got to cut down your trees because they provide cover for human beings who want to stand behind them and hide or whatever. So the goats had no shade. Then they said, your thorn scrub over here, all this low, entangled, scrubby Tamaulipan thorn scrub that's part of our native habitat, which provides protection for the goats. They can get in there and they can be secure and have some protection against predators. He was made to eliminate all of that. So basically, it was a death sentence for his goats. And the Rio Grande Valley is one of the nation's most impoverished areas. And people do still raise their own food here. We have chickens and goats and cows. Goats, cabrito, is a staple in our diet here. And this man was basically stripped of all of that. His goats and everything they needed, and his private property rights were completely trampled because he didn't have the resources to hire attorneys or to fight the federal government in this. And that's basically what they would like to do to us. But fortunately, the Texas Civil Rights Project and another law firm, a big, powerful, well-renowned, well-respected law firm, have agreed to join us in this battle to protect our rights. And what's at stake here is 4% of the native habitat that will be behind the border wall that we believe, and I've not had anyone in CBP correct me or deny this, that we believe they will clear cut when the wall is in place. That means all of the host plants for butterflies, all of the trees that birds and butterflies and other animals use for roosting, that all of the land that every wildlife species in this area uses for breeding, feeding, for seed distribution, for genetic diversity, for everything that goes into having a healthy ecosystem will be destroyed.
And this is pretty much stealing from the American people.
It is, because these lands, especially Santa Ana, for example, and Benson, Rio Grande Valley State Park, are public lands.
And they're gonna be taking part of those as well.
Well, they're going to take all of Santa Ana. The visitors center and the parking lot are in front of the levee, and the 2,000 acres that comprise Santa Ana are behind the levee. So, you know, their plan is, as has been confirmed, that the border wall will go in the levee system, and those 2,000 some acres, about 2,080 acres, will be behind the border wall. Only the visitor center will be part of America still, effectively. And everything else will be in this no man's land between the Rio Grande River and the border wall, where, you know, who knows what? I mean, we really have no idea what will happen there.
It'll just be, they'll destroy everything, they'll clear it all, and it'll just be nothing but ugliness and death. And there won't be any life left. It'll all be gone.
That's exactly right. And in this region, we're home to more than 300 butterfly species. So in North America, there are about 700 butterfly species, and almost half of them can be found in the lower Rio Grande Valley in this 4-county region. That's more than anywhere else. It's a butterfly diversity and volume that is unrivaled anywhere in the United States. And it's here because of our 11 distinct ecosystems, because of our proximity to the tropics, because of the way the Gulf winds work and bring us these tropical and subtropical strays into South Texas. It's the same thing for birds. Over 500 bird species in South Texas. So ecotourism is one of the 3 pillars of our economy in this area that is really terribly impoverished. And when all of these destinations like Santa Ana, which is in January, they're gonna celebrate their 75th anniversary. When Santa Ana is closed or no longer accessible to the public, and Benson State Park, which is the headquarters of the World Birding Centers, is closed or no longer accessible to the public, and perhaps the same for the National Butterfly Center, what will happen to our ecotourism? We assume that will just dry up and die too, and that's about $450 million a year to our local economy, and those are dollars that come here from out of the region and largely from out of the state. And there's no plan by anybody here to replace that money in our economy.
How does the federal government have the right to come and steal that money from you? I don't know. And all in the name of national security, like that wall, for the money spent, I don't see how it's making us that much more secure.
I don't see, how it's making us more secure either. When Customs and Border Protection just recently, and all this is available online too, their own reports for the last fiscal year have apprehensions from illegal immigration across the whole country at a 42-year low. They also show that the majority of the people who are in this country illegally have overstayed tourist and work and student visas, and that those folks outnumber border jumpers almost 2 to 1.
And those people aren't necessarily criminals.
No, exactly. I mean, and that's, as a Valley girl, having been here most of my life, I can tell you that most of the people swimming across the river or taking a rubber inner tube across the river are not criminals either, and they're not here for any wicked purpose. They are here really in pursuit of the American dream, and especially in recent years, CBP calls them OTMs. That means other than Mexicans. The majority, like 80% of all of the immigrants who've come into the country through the southern border have been OTMs. They've been people fleeing the violence in Honduras and San Salvador and Guatemala and Central America and South America. These are people who are fleeing for their lives. They don't want to do us any harm. They just want to live. They want life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness like we all have. Are there bad apples? I'm sure there are. But
we can't even imagine, Mariana, what situations they're coming from. I think most of us here cannot even imagine how they're living, the fear that they have to live under, the people killed around them, and fearing for their own life, their child's life. I think any American put in that same situation would be wanting to flee from there to protect their family, number one. And do you guys see like massive amounts of crime in this area?
No, and actually, so the Butterfly Center is in Mission. We are part of the metropolitan service area that is the McAllen, Edinburgh, Mission area. And you know how USA Today and Forbes and all these things, they rank like the most affordable cities in the U.S. or the best places to retire and the safest cities in America. McAllen, Texas, our MSA, is in the top 25 or something, or it may even be higher than that in the last ranking. But our crime rate is incredibly low. And I mean, lower per 1,000 people than places like Chicago and Atlanta. And, you know, we get these calls all the time. People asking us if we're safe, if it's safe to come visit. My husband and I have 6 children. We live here in McAllen. The kids are at school campuses all over. They're involved in all kinds of activities. We get up every day, we mow our lawn, we wave to our neighbors, we go to the grocery store, we go to work, we go to sporting events.
So that's a whole misnomer. And we only have like 1 minute left, but sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to give you a chance to, if you wanted to say some last words to direct people on where to find more information.
You know, we're asking people to do 3 things. 1, share our story. Make sure people know that this is about due process, private property rights, and upholding the Constitution and the rule of law in America. 2, join us, become a member of the National Butterfly Center, contribute to our legal defense fund, whatever it is that you want to do, or another organization like Sierra Club or Defenders of Wildlife, to help us take a stand against this atrocity, this decimation of public and private lands that house so much of our environmental wealth in this country. And the third thing that we're asking people to do is to take action. Call your senators. Call your senators and call ours, Cornyn and Cruz, and tell them no wall, no way, not here, not now. We will not stand for the border wall, to use technology, we don't need a 4th century
answer to something that we could solve with modern technology. And everyone, this is Martiana Wright, and she's from the National Butterfly Association, and just thank you so much. This has been an incredible show. I really appreciate it. And everyone, tell everyone else about this podcast, okay? Thanks so much for joining us on smarthealth.com. I'm Elaine McFadden. Bye-bye.
Final passage of that Republican tax cut bill will have to wait until Wednesday. The House